Okay, so continuing on this theme development, the next thing that I'm going to do is establish the HTML code. And for that, I'm going to type the following. I'm going to create a container div to contain the structural elements. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Oop. There you go. Contain the structural elements of the layout. I put a header. In the header, okay, something going on with my mouse. In the header, I'm going to put a nav, which will contain eventually the navigation, well, the primary site navigation, and this will be the main for the main content, of course, and finally the footer. Okay. Of course, we can put IDs on these, make it easier to target them. So PGHDR, page header. I could call this PGNav. The main can have an ID too. And the footer. Of course, this is an optional thing. As long as you know different kinds of CSS selectors, you should be able to easily target these tags, specifically these tags, without them having an IDs. But for the sake of this example, I'm just going to put IDs. Now, moving forward, I'm going to create the CSS rules for these. So I'm going to go to style.css. In fact, let me see. Okay, this is still good. This is still okay. Okay, so continuing. Actually, let me take a look at the font. So I'm using the, if you recall from a previous video, I'm using the Anton font and the Railway font, which are both sans serif fonts. These are Google fonts. So what I'm going to do is apply to the whole body section. So let me get rid of the margin first. And apply the Railway font. Now, of course, Google gives you this code as well. So, but because I already closed the Google Fonts window and I have to type this manually. Okay. In fact, just to test things out, I'm going to put just the word hello in the main and see that in the browser. Okay, so there's the word hello. In fact, I just remembered that we're using the normalize CSS as well. And typically this gets rid of the margin, but let's see if this version does. So what I'm going to do is take out this line, save this file, refresh my browser. Okay, actually the normalize did take away the margin. I don't have to do it myself. So that's all good. I mean, it's not going to hurt if we keep margin 0 there. But since the normalize.css takes care of that business of removing the margin and body, then it's all good. Remember, the normalize.css file that I'm using makes sure that all tags render properly across different browsers, even for some of the older ones, especially those older versions that did not support or have full support for HTML5. Okay, with that established, I'm also going to put a font size, and in this case, I'm going to tell the browser to make my default font size for the body section a little bit bigger than what I've reset on browser. This is actually a more accessible way. So in other words, this considers accessibility as well. So you can read up on that if you want. Now to continue, the layout that I have here, I'm just gonna establish them as a series of rows in the page. And oops, with that said, in fact, let me close these files. I'm gonna use a split view. So I can view, let me click here and view index at the bottom half of my page, of my window. And so to continue, all right, so the container will be the defining element. So for now, I'm going to give this, I'm not going to bother doing responsive design, at least not in this case. So I'm going to set a max width instead of width. I'm going to I'm going to center it, but I want to put a little bit of margin above and below that. So let's put 2% followed by auto, and that's going to be the width for the left and right. Um, in fact, let me go back to body, add background color. So I'm adding a little bit of a background color in the body section, just a light gray. And continuing forward, okay, so I got the header. Let's see, let's target now the header. Let's create a CSS rule for the header. Just make this a little bit larger. Okay, so page header. Actually, I don't need anything for the page header. In terms of width, I want it as wide as it can, as wide as a container. So as it is, being that it's a block element, it's already going to do that. In terms of height, I'm just going to let the page header be pushed or stretched by me putting stuff in it. So in other words, I'm not going to set the height of it. Maybe later on I'll put some padding, but I'll just leave that CSS rule there for now. Page nav, right now it's going to be the same thing. I don't have anything for it. I could technically put a background color. So let's do that. You can put a background color, but we're not going to see it anyway because there's nothing in it. So, oops. I don't know. I'll just put some dark blue. Okay. And we'll deal with that for, later. The main section. Well, this one I'm going to give it a white background. And just to kind of make it, give it some height while it's empty or if it doesn't have much in it. So I'm going to put a height of, let's say, 360 pixels. You know what, let me stretch it to 400 just to exaggerate it a little bit. And I guess now the footer, I want to put a copyright message there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll give it a background color of some shade of gray. 5555555. I'm going to decrease the font size to say about 60%. And because that's a dark gray, I'm going to put a light color on the text. So there's another way to put it. I'm going to put a white text color. All right. And well, so now I can go in the footer and add my copyright text. So copyright &copy. Okay. And what I'll do is use PHP code to echo the current year, which is a capital Y, inside the date function. So let's try these. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, so not much going on. We can't see the header because there's nothing in them. We see the main, that's about 400 pixels indeed, and there's the footer, a little too small. In fact, I'm not liking that background color in the footer. I think what I'm going to do is just put the text right here and keep the footer transparent. In fact, center the footer text, but add a little bit of padding. So with those said, I'm going to remove the background in the footer, the page footer. Font size is good. Oops, nope, don't mean to open the start menu. Okay, font size 60%, color I think let's keep the white. Oh yeah, of course, we're gonna center the text and put a little bit of padding. I would say 10 pixels inside the footer. So let's see the result of that. So those are my adjustments on the page footer. Okay, so that went away. The background, there's the copyright text. Barely noticeable, but nevertheless, that's copyright text. So really, people won't be going to the website to look for that. So let me continue. Let me edit that copyright text. So let's just say my blog Inc. All rights reserved. Okay, just to make fun with it a little bit. All right, refresh. Okay, there you go. So there's the copyright text showing up. There's our layout. So all we need is the header. Now I have a logo. In fact, let me see. I mean, I can download some logo. Let's do that. Or maybe not. I'm just going to use my existing logo. Teaching WebD. There you go. It's a PNG. So you can make one. If you have one, you can do that. So what I'm going to do is put this inside my theme folder. So there's my theme folder. So you can see this is the path to it. And I'm going to create a subfolder. Yes, creating a subfolder now inside my theme folder and putting the logo here. So this is a PNG file, twd-logo. It's a PNG. And let me minimize this. Because now what I want to do is put that logo inside my header. But normally, if this was not WordPress, I would have coded the logo like this. My blog. Now, excuse me. This will not work. In fact, just to prove that to you, refresh Firefox. There you go. The alternate text is showing up, indication that, well, the image cannot be displayed by the browser. So that means this is truly not working. Okay. So what's supposed to happen here is that in the src attribute, we're supposed to put. Okay, so that should have a slash there, and here we're supposed to echo get style sheet directory underscore URI. Okay, so that the result of this is added on to this. Okay, so with that established, save the file, test it in the browser. There you go, logo showing up. But I think I want that centered. So will that be addressed? That will be addressed in the the page header CSS rule. Well, before I proceed in styling that any further, let me roll in my navigation bar. Our functions.php contains already from the previous video rather, this. Okay, so this not only enables custom menus, but it also defines a location named or labeled site-navigation. Now, if we look that up, WP nav menu. Okay, if we look up the reference, effectively what you need to put here this is the function, by the way, that you're going to use to display, okay, to display the custom menu, okay. Now, currently, right, let me open Firefox. Okay, so currently there are no links. So what's going to happen is if we put WP nav menu in our, let's see, let's go back to index. And right here, we roll in PHP code WP nav menu. Save that. Refresh the browser. Okay. So we're getting a navigation bar, but this contains the default menu. Okay. So in other words, this is a menu created by WordPress itself. And right now, actually, we're getting an unordered list. If I right-click, inspect element, there you go. There's a UL tag containing an li, of course, that contains the link. All right, so that link was created by WordPress itself. This is the default menu. So what I'm going to do is go back to my dashboard, create, I'd say, let me create a couple of pages. So I have a sample page here, but I don't want to use that. I want to put that in the trash. And say I'm going to create a page for each of 3 Adobe products. So let's say this is going to be Dreamweaver. Let's look up Dreamweaver and let's grab some text. Alright, Dreamweaver's been reimagined, yada yada yada. Great, so I'll just copy that. Thank you, Adobe. And put that, oops, I'm sorry. Put that in my dashboard as my content. So let me paste that there. Okay, let me just make sure that no styling is applied to it. That's good. And publish this. I'm going to create another page for Photoshop. So let's Google Photoshop. Okay, world. Okay, once again, thank you, Adobe, for letting me copy your text. All right, put that here, publish, and just maybe to add it, Illustrator. Copy that text, paste that, oops, add a new page, Illustrator, paste that text here, and finally, yeah, I want to add the fourth one, InDesign. Okay, 4 important programs in the field of web and graphics. Oops, so another page, InDesign, paste the text, publish it, done. All right, so looking at all my pages, there you go, wonderful. Now that's still not going to show up, of course. Let me close this Adobe tab and switch to my Firefox browser where the preview is. You know, those links will still not show up. What I need to do is define a custom menu. So since I've enabled custom menus in the functions PHP in the previous in the other video, so I can go here, appearance, menus. Okay, so there's no menu yet. So I'm going to name this menu as primary site navigation. Okay, and here I guess, well, I don't want a home link. In fact, we can make the logo a link to the home page. I'll deal with that later. But I want to add all of these. Yep. Okay. Oh wait, actually, what am I doing? I don't need to add them. They're already here. Posts. Well, the index will be the front page will be which should be listing rather the list of posts. So I don't need to create a link to that. And like I said, I'm gonna make the logo the link to the index page. So I just need these 4 links in the navigation. So that's done. So create menu. So once that's created, I have to indicate where I want that to go. So I'm going to put here website, display location, website navigation. I only have one location available because that's the only thing I defined in the functions.php. So I'm going to save that. Now the menu has been created. Let's see what WordPress gives us. Refresh. Okay, there you go. So we have the navigation happening. Wonderful. Now, trouble is, well, not a trouble, but what's happening is this. Okay, let me inspect that. So, what WordPress did was give this browser. So there's our nav tag. In it, there's a div, and in it, there's a UL, and it already has a class applied to it. Now, well, first of all, I don't need the div anymore. I mean, I don't need that at all. Second, I think I want to give that. Well, I can use this ID. Of course, the trouble is, um, should I rename my menu, then that's gonna change as well. So I think, hmm. Well, I can target that UL given that the nav will always have an ID of PG nav. Okay, but I think the important thing is to get rid of that div that contains that UL. So, in other words, our WP nav menu, according to the documentation, okay, um, okay, so according to the documentation, we can use these arguments inside the array that we feed to the WP nav menu itself. We can give it an ID, and no, I don't want that. Um, okay, so there you go. So there's a container argument. So it says here whether to wrap the UL and what to wrap it with. So default is div. Now because I don't want that div, what I'm going to do in my index.php is in here, array, container, and this is an associative array. So container equal greater than an empty string. Okay. So once that's established, let's see. Refresh the browser. My mouse is starting to act up. All right, so there's the list. So the div is gone. That's good. So if I zoom in, yep, the list. The div is gone. That makes it a lot simpler HTML wise. And because that's done, I can proceed creating my CSS rule to target that UL tag. And because that UL is in the page nav, I can do this. Page nav greater UL. And what I'm going to do is get rid of the margin, get rid of the padding, and get rid of the bullet points. Okay, let me just add some extra spaces down here so I can scroll as I'm doing the demo. Okay, next I'm going to configure the UL, I'm sorry, the LIs inside the UL. And that means greater UL, greater LI to be display inline block. And not floating them, the reason being is that I want to center these LIs. Matter of fact, I want to add text align center later, but I'll deal with that later. Alright, so page nav ULLI display inline block. Switching to Firefox, refreshing it. There you go. There's the navigation links. Still not looking great, but nevertheless they're there. Good. Now I can continue page nav greater UL, and I can just target the A tags like this within that UL. I don't have to create a sequence of child selectors. So what I'm going to do, change the color of the links to maybe something bright. So I'm just going to use some ridiculous color here for now. Yes. Sort of bright green. And get rid of the underline. Text decoration none. What else? I want to bold them, so font weight bold. Make them a little bit larger than the normal text, so maybe 115%. Oh yes, I need to do this, change them to block elements rather than inline, so I can apply padding on them of maybe 15 pixels top and bottom and maybe 25 pixels left and right. Okay, let's see first what this does. Oh, actually, let me add text transform uppercase. So all of them will be in all caps. Alright, so let's see the result of that. Here's Firefox, Control R. Okay, font doesn't look great, but anyway. I mean, I could have chosen a different font for these, but otherwise, I don't think it's bad. Right. So I need all of these centered, the logo, the navigation. In fact, I'm beginning to not feel this blue. All right, so let's see, what can we do with that? Where's the blue? All right, so there's the page nav. Anyway, we need to go to page nav, not just to change the background color. I think I'm gonna use a lighter shade of blue, about 9999 CC, and text align center to center everything that's in the page nav. So let's see that. So I've saved my CSS file, switch them back to Firefox now, refresh. Let's see what happens. Okay, interesting. So it didn't center the image, but it did center the links. Okay. Now, let's see. Where's the image tag? Okay, it is inside the... Okay, it's inside the page header, so not the page nav. All right, so we shouldn't apply the text align center on page nav if you want the image centered as well, of course. All right, so I'm going to take out text align center on page nav and instead put that in the page header rule so that everything in the header, both the navigation and the logo, will be centered. So let's see. Yes, indeed. All right. Uh, I should have used a different font for these. Well, what if I try the other one? And so I remember the other font was called Anton. All right. Let's see. So let's go back to the CSS rule for A. Let me use the Anton font here. Font family. Oops. Anton. That is a sans serif font. Save it. Go back to Firefox. Refresh. Okay, that looks horrible. All right. Maybe because of this. Font weight bold. Let me take that out temporarily. Switch back to Firefox. Refresh. It still doesn't look great. All right. I think let me just put everything back the way they were. Not Anton font for the links. Refresh the browser. Okay. I think that's okay for now. I'm not going to waste video time fixing that. Now I put padding so to make it easier to press these on a touch device. So that's why I put padding around the A rather than padding in the LI. So the user may put the mouse pointer over here and still be able to click on the link. They don't have to put their mouse pointer on the words to click on the links, making it easier for them. Okay. All right, this is fine as it is. So now the content. Okay. So this is where we need to start breaking this up into Dreamweaver templates. But before that, I've just realized something. Actually, that's fine. I'm sorry. All right, so we need to break this up. Let me go back to the no split view. Yeah, we need to break this up into WordPress templates. I was about to say Dreamweaver templates. So these parts of the code will have to go in a file called header.php. This part of the code from the /main down to the /html will have to go to footer.php. If you read other tutorials, they may create a sidebar.php. I don't have one. So that's why this theme will be a little bit different. And I think I'm going to discuss that in part 3 of this video.